Hey guys, Dark Recycling FPV. We just got done doing part 6, which was connecting, let's see, we did your camera and we did your receiver to the flight controller, right? So what we're left with now, doing our picture-in-picture here, what we're left with now is we need to clean up the board, we need to add our buzzer, we need to add our XT60, right? So we're gonna go through all that right here. Here's our XT60. I'm gonna show you what to do with that one. Hopefully you have some wire and some solder. And then as far as the buzzer goes, it's totally optional to you, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it just because some people want it. So here's what we're going to do. First of all, here's our board. I'm not going to clean up the wiring yet until I'm done. And if you remember, I just put some hot glue on everything, but I did not put it on these two spots here, and I did not put it right here on this green cable, right? So let me zoom in a little bit so you can see that. Okay, so what we're going to be working with right now are these two areas right here. See this little gold circle right there, and this little one right here. This on the left is the negative or the ground for the buzzer, and on the right, this is the positive. All right, so now we're going to zoom out here, and we're going to get our buzzer. I want you to look at your buzzer real quickly, and it's got to have a sticker on it. And that sticker is going to have a plus sign right here. Now, why it says remove after washing, I have no idea. Don't ask me. It's something they put on here. It's on all the buzzers for whatever reason. But what's important is that you have this positive sign right here. That means that this wire is the positive wire, and very similar to like the capacitor when we were talking about. The positive wire is usually going to be longer, okay? But you need to be careful with this one. There's not much play here, so please make sure you're careful with this. You're going to need some tweezers to do this, I think. But remember, positive is over here, and positive is right here. So I'd leave the sticker on for now, okay? So how we're going to do this is simple. We've already put the flux pen on here to get this ready to solder. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some solder down now. Okay, we did the flux pen when we were setting this up before, so I'm just going to kind of sneak in here, drop a little bit of solder on the board right here. I want to make sure I don't get my wire though, so let me just be very careful right there. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to put some right here. All right, there we go. All right, so there's my solder that's ready to go. Now, because I'm right-handed, I need to turn this around so I can bring the buzzer in. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to cut the wires on the buzzer to be the same length. All right, actually, what I may do to make this easier, I'm going to see if this would make sense. Hold on a second. I'm going to see if I can unscrew this standoff, and I can. All right, I'm going to unscrew this standoff right here because I want the thick power wires to be out of my way, and I want to just kind of push them down for right now so I have clear access to right here. Okay, so just take that standoff off for a second. It's no big deal. All right, so what we're going to do, just like with everything else, we're going to dip our alarm, put some flux paste on there, and just very quickly, with very little effort, because you know these things are pretty sensitive, I'm just going to quickly put some solder on the ends here. And I hope, you just want to try to get it to stick a little bit. I promise you it takes a little effort to solder this thing, so you don't have to have a ton of solder on here, okay? There you go. I mean, just that much, big deal. All right, now what I want to do is I want to remember where my positive is, and it's right there. So we're going to put the positive to the positive tab, and here's where you want to use maybe some tweezers. So let me grab my tweezers, and here's how I'm going to try to grip this thing. I'm going to try to grip it where I've got the tweezers going straight down the center, okay? Just like that. I don't know if I can hold it very well like this, but I'm going to try. And then I'm just going to come over and make sure all my wires are out of the way. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to make sure I can line these up. I'm going to try to tack this down. There's the ground. And then I'm just going to try to bring this over a little bit. It's okay. I can tack it like that even. Let me just tack this down. All right, there we go. Our buzzer's on, done. Simple, just like that. So let me zoom in there and I'll show you what it looks like. So you can see it doesn't matter about the angle. What matters is it's on there properly. It's in the positive and the ground. Now we will take our hot glue and finish this job off right here. So let's go ahead and just put some hot glue there and there. Okay, keep all our wires good. There we go. And while that's cooling, we can go ahead and put our standoff back in. Sorry, let me zoom out. I told you I forget to zoom out every once in a while, so let me just zoom out there. All right, so let's go ahead and put our standoff back in now. All right, so I'm just going to do that here. And there we go. Excellent. Okay. All right, now don't forget, take your paper off. So let's go ahead and pull that off. Oh boy. I'm trying, but this thing is not gripping. All right, there. There we go. Okay, and it doesn't really matter if the wires are sitting on top of it. What matters is it's in there good. So while that's all drying and that glue is going, let's go ahead and now start cleaning up our wires, okay? So you remember how we had this red and white one, right? We capped those off. They're not being used. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Let's just use them like a tie, like a shoelace or something, and let's just go ahead and wrap the white one. Pick whichever one you want, but wrap them around, okay? And we'll do it like this. I'm just going to take it, and I'm going to wrap it around the rest of the wires. All right, and keep watch, guys, that you haven't pulled on these so hard that some of your solders come undone. Okay, like the wires come disconnected from the pad that it was on. Then I'm just going to wrap the red one around the other direction. There we go, just like that. And this is going to stay. I'm not going to tie it in a knot or anything, but I mean it's going to stay pretty organized this way. All right, and that's it. Now our board looks very clean again. Okay, and that's what you want. You want to keep your board looking clean. There's our receiver right there, but look at that. Okay, and that's what we want. Don't forget, we still have to attach an antenna to our board right here, but look at this. So now if I wanted to, and I do want to actually, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a dab of glue right, I need to put more glue in here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to do this because I'm just a glue happy person, but here's what you do. I'm just going to put a dab of glue right here, and I'm just going to put the wires down and have them just kind of sit there. And just hold them a second. Okay. And what I end up with is a beautiful looking, very organized, very well put together setup, all right? That is, the wires are down, everything's organized, I know exactly what's what, and we're good to go with that, okay? So the only thing left now is to get our XT60 in place. Now this is, I would love to say this is an easy task, but sometimes it can be somewhat of a pain, all right? So how are we gonna do this? Well, there's two options. Option one, we can just put the piece in like this, solder to the bottom, and that connects, or we can give a little bit of play through a cable. I'm going to teach you the way to do it with the cable because that's more of a, even though I prefer this method, okay, for me, it's not really preferred by most pilots just because it puts a lot of strain on the board. So I'm going to show you the way that most people would tell you to do it, okay? So to do that, we're going to need some wire, and I'm going to use my wire here. So let me grab that real quickly. Now you guys have some wire that came with yours if you want. I'm just going to use some of mine because it's a little easier to use for a video. So let me just cut some of mine and I'll show you what I'm going to do, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this much wire, right? And what's important to me right now is that I do not leave so much that it's going to be dangerous for the props, okay? So that's probably a little too much wire. So here's what we're going to do. Doesn't matter though for right now. We'll settle up in a little bit. So we need to attach our wire to here, right? And now this is where it gets a little difficult. So just try your best. It shouldn't be too bad. Go ahead and take off about 5 millimeters of your silicone around the wire, okay? And dip your wire in the flux paste and twist it up real good, all right? Do the same on this side. Twist it up real good. Now, you have a couple options here. I do this the cheap way. I'm going to take my grips here, and I'm going to grab a rubber band. Give me 1 second. Okay, here's my rubber band. It's going to basically be what holds this. Now, one thing you need to make sure of is that this XT60 has some angles, right? So you can see here it's not flat. It comes in almost like an arrow, and here's flat. The flat part has a positive sign on it. Make sure you pay attention to that. Now, let me zoom in here just a little bit. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. Maybe a little bit there is the, I don't know. I'm trying to get the light to hit it probably. There's a positive sign, and the edge here has a ground. Do not get these mixed up, please. So on the flat edge, you will use your red cable. On the pointed edge, I guess you will use your black cable, okay? And here's what we're gonna do. We are going to get our flux pen like this. And we are going to put it around, just all around, all right? We want to protect this as much as possible and only keep our solder in this area. All right, we've already put our flux paste on our wire, so let's just go ahead and tin our wire up like we normally would. Thought I had some extra wire here, but I'll just use this. Bear with me a second. My wire spool here needs to be redone, so let me just put this through. Holy cow. Sorry. All right, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to go ahead and tin this positive wire up just like this, okay? And remember, you want to get both sides of it, top and the bottom of it. And this one you want to make sure is really well done, because this wire is the main wire into your entire setup, okay? So there we go, just like that. Okay. And that's fine. The solder looks a little sloppy, but that's all going to melt anyway in just a little bit. Okay. So let me show you. We're gonna do the ground too. Might as well knock that out now while we're doing it. So let's go ahead and knock the ground out while we're at it. Tin that up as well. All right. We can put that aside. Now we're going for our XT60. So here's what I do. I'm just going to place this in the grip here. I'm going to make it real simple, and I'm just going to run a rubber band around it, okay? That's just going to hold it, all right? Unless you have some special grips, and I have them, but not everybody does, so I figured I'll do something that makes it a little easier. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and prep this up by putting a little bit of solder in the center. So please be careful. Just try to keep it in the center. Try not to let it run out of the center, okay? So just enough like that. Let's go to the other side, do the same thing. Just enough in the center. And it can be kind of tricky to get it to hold, but just get it in the center there, just like that. Okay, perfect. All right. Now I want to take the first one, and I guess you may need to use some tweezers. This is going to get hot pretty quickly, but you're not going to hold it for too long. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to put your soldering iron on the edge. That solder is going to melt, and you're going to basically just drop your wire right in that center area and then run the solder up, okay? And it's going to make like this cone shape, just like that, okay? That's it. It's done. I don't know if you can see that, but that is very much a cone shape that it made, right? So you heat up the XT60 by holding the soldering iron to the actual metal on the XT60 where you put the solder. That'll melt the solder very quickly. And then from there, you just drop your wire in, okay? And your wire, the solder on your wire will melt also around it. So let's do the ground real quickly. We're gonna do the same thing again. Let me make sure that I can have this held in place. I was thinking I might be able to give you a better angle for this, so let me see if I can. I'm not sure this is gonna be better, but let me see. If I move it, I'd have to move this somewhere here, I think. Okay, I'm gonna try a different angle and see if that helps you. This is a different angle to watch. Okay, I hope this helps. I'm not sure, but I figured both angles on this may be good. So again, you're going to touch this edge right here where the metal is, okay? And what that's going to do is that's going to instantly start melting your solder. And then at that point, just put your wire towards the center, and the wire itself, the solder on the wire is going to start melting. I don't have a very good grip on my wire right now. Okay, but once it's in there like this, just start raising your soldering iron up towards the silicone of the wire. And it's going to make this Hershey Kiss looking shape. Okay, and there it is. You're done. All right, so at that point, guys, you now have your XT60 soldered. You have your power on there good. It's solid, but now we need to put heat shrink on it. So let's go ahead and get our heat shrink out. And we'll use these two here. Now, you need to wait for it to cool, or else the heat shrink will start shrinking right about here when it gets on there. So let's wait for it to cool a little bit. Okay, so we're going to cut, you know, a good amount. I mean, nothing too big, but a good amount. That's all right. I'm going to go ahead and put since I did the positive first, I'm going to go ahead and put the positive heat shrink on, right? And it's just got to fit over everything. It's got to fit over the solder and make it basically slide into that hole right there, right? Perfect, just like that. And then we can go ahead and put the ground on here now. I think that's cool enough. So let's go ahead, and there it goes. It slides in as well. Perfect, okay? Right now you're making a very high quality cable. So, I mean, even the manufacturers make them. Sometimes they don't come out this good. So you guys should be proud of yourself for doing this. So we're gonna go ahead and heat that up, protect it really well. Nice work, guys. Very proud of you for what you've done here. Okay, so you've just made your first XT60 cable. Okay, now we've got to attach this to the frame, right? So I mean to the board right here. So what we've got, let me find where I just put that down. Okay, so here's our cable. Now this is super long, right? All we're gonna do is when our plate is on here, and I think I even have a battery sitting here somewhere. that's similar to the one you guys will be using. I'm not sure if I have it on this table or not. I thought maybe I did, but okay, I don't see it right now. But just to give you an idea, your battery cable is your battery's gonna be sitting like right in this area. Your cable's gonna be kind of, you know, over here somewhere. So when you put this on, I recommend that you're gonna keep it pretty close. Let's just say like this. So if I had to measure that, I would say that we're gonna go from the end of the XT60 yellow piece, we're gonna go about 40 millimeters, okay? So from the XT60, go about 40 millimeters, all right? And let's just cut right there, because we don't want this too long or else it can get in the way of your propeller. So there's your cable that you're gonna be working with. Now, let me get this out of the way and let's clean up the table a little bit. Now you have the daunting task of soldering that to these pads here. Okay, now this is where it can get a little tricky. So you don't want to overheat this area. You've got your flux, you put it on there, put that away. I don't need the ruler anymore. What I do need to do is I need to strip out these cables, and I'm going to do it like this. About the same amount, about 4 to 5 millimeters, right there. Okay, there's my cable. I'm going to go ahead and tin it up real quick. Okay. There we go. Now let's go ahead and grab our helping hands right here. I'll just have one cable held in place. We're going to go ahead and tin these up and get these ready. So we'll do our ground first, I guess. If I'm not mistaken, this is the last soldering that we do for this entire build. Okay, guys, so once you get this done and it all comes out, you are golden. It is time to program and then fly. Okay? But that's why I made this XT60 part its own thing, because it's kind of it can be a little daunting sometimes, but once you get it, once you learn how to do it, man, you're golden. All right, so our cables are done. All right, that's done. Now we have to tin the board. Here's where things get tricky. Do not overheat your board. Whatever you do, take your time. Let me show you how we're gonna do this, okay? It's a little trick. It may work with you guys. You may like this method. I like it. It's the method I use whenever I'm doing this. Here goes. What I want to do is I'll start with either side, but let's just say the positive. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of make this ring, right? You see that? You see the copper ring there? I'm just going to make that ring, and then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to very quickly go back and forth. And look at that. I just closed that hole up. That is a solid hole now, okay? Now I'm going to do it for the ground. Okay, go around the ring here, right? Make the ring. It may take a little bit of time, and then once you do that, just kind of go back and forth, and boom, you just made a solid hole. Now make sure to get all the copper, okay? You want to try to get that entire ring of copper right there, all right? And so there we go. Okay, perfect. We've now just sealed off both holes, okay? They're perfect. So what we can do now is we can literally heat this up, okay? And we can go through the circle. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure I've got the right angle for you guys so you can see it. I'm going to take the positive first. So I'm going to put the negative out of the way. I'm going to take the positive, and I'm just going to heat this up. And as it heats, I'm going to push the positive through the circle here. Okay, ready? So I'm going to heat it up. And at one time, here goes. And I'm just going to let it heat up. And that positive is going to slowly go to where it's going to go through that circle. And then we're going to basically close it out like that. Okay? So we've got our positive in there now. And now we're going to do the same with our ground. Now it's not stuck 100% yet. We still have to do a little bit of work here. But what we want to do is, if we can get it through this hole, like this, right? So I'm going to heat this up real quick, right? Let it just kind of get hot. And I'm going to put the ground through. It's a little bit trickier once you have one in, but let me see if I can get that in there. Sorry, let me do this where I get a good grip here. Okay, once I get that cable on there, it's a little slippery for me, but I'll just use my fingers. Let's just do it this way. Okay, I'm going to heat up the circle. I'm going to heat up the solder here. All right, this is a little temperamental. Let me put a little bit more solder because I'm not able to get this one. So I'm going to put a little bit more on my ground pad here just so I can get a little bit better response from the heat. There we go. Now it's getting hot. Now I can put this through. I'm going to use the tweezers here so I don't burn my fingers. There, let me make that hole, and then there we go. Perfect. Sorry, I had to kind of poke that needle through there because it wasn't wanting to take, because I didn't put that much solder on there to begin with. All right, so what you can see now if we flip this over is, look, you see that our cables have now come through to the other side, right? This is where we're going to apply the rest of our solder. And if you remember at the beginning, we fluxed both sides of this. So now what you want to do is just go ahead and apply your solder all the way around and make sure to get it. I'm going to get some more solder wire here. Okay, make sure to get it all the way around. And that's going to make it very solid for you, okay? And you can just come up around it. You've got all that copper area to put your solder on. So you should have no problem at all with this. And once you get done with this side, we'll go ahead and close it off on the other side. So I'm just gonna kind of go around here now and just apply my solder around this copper circle that's on the other end of the board, right? Just like this. And that's gonna make a nice solid finish here. Okay, there we go. And we could do that on the positive side. There we go. All right, so now we have our cables soldered in perfectly. I mean, they're solid on the bottom. Okay, you can see that. Let me show you, do a zoom in here to show you what we're talking about. It's not zooming in for me, so I'm not sure why.